The Local Show, sponsored by Victory in Motion, home of knee repair, not knee replacement, on News Radio 570 WSYR, on 106.9 FM, and live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. The Local Show features in-depth conversation with business owners, employees, and influential business leaders throughout Central New York, exploring their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in our growing community. The Local Show is produced locally by Zoe Advertising. Now your hosts, Tom and Steve.
It's Josh Lange, Pastor Josh Lange from Redeemer Church. How are you there, buddy?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, thank you for being here. So the question of faith, the reasons why, and all those things come up around this time. And how does Redeemer fill that gap or paint that brush, paint with that brush? What do you do?
Well, I think one of the things that we try to do each and every week as we gather is we look to Scripture, something outside of ourselves, the outside of the circumstances and situations that we find ourselves in, and we try to listen for God, and He speaks into the different things that we're going through in life. And so during this season of Advent, where Advent simply means coming, we look back and remember the people who waited and saw Christ come. And for us as people now, we're waiting for Christ to come again. And we think that the Scripture has a lot to say to help us through the different circumstances and situations we find ourselves in.
Which one came first, the Advent calendar or Advent? And then, aren't they a little sacrilegious? You open it up, you get a piece of chocolate. That just seems a little, I don't know, Tom. I don't know if that misses the mark a little. I don't know.
Well, again, things get co-opted.
Yes,
right.
Commercialized,
and so,
for sure.
Believe me, with our kids, even we have the Advent calendars, and my son for years has gotten the Lego one. So he's always looking for the cool Lego pieces.
Yeah, I guess, anything that can engage people, at least you get them in the door. And then when they get them in the door, then you can start talking about the story. Right?
Yeah, well, it's a time of year, I think, when people are naturally beginning to think about faith. And they're dealing with the reality of there might be an empty chair around the table this year. They're dealing with the reality that maybe their circumstances changed in such a way where they're not going to be able to be near family. And so you begin to think about some of those deeper things of life, and you're looking for answers. And it's a time of year where, surprisingly, even in a post-Christian culture like we have in America, that people still listen to Christmas carols and check out church and come out on Christmas Eve even. And they're looking for hope. They're looking for encouragement. They're looking for faith.
When did we become post-Christian?
What do you mean by post-Christian? I don't know.
Well, with the trend that America has been on, we've been in a culture that more and more is moving away from that Judeo-Christian ethic that, kind of gave shape to the country.
Right.
And so now, especially here in the Northeast, we're shaped a little bit more by secularism.
Right.
And probably in the last 50 to 60 years, maybe a little bit longer than that, but in that realm. And so when you are looking at the different generations, you have boomers, millennials, all those different types of things. Boomers typically were still kind of going to church.
Right.
With that, their kids, grandkids slowly saw the decline. And now, you're seeing generations of kids who maybe grew up completely outside of any kind of faith.
So it wasn't even a Christmas, Easter, we show up at church, check the box thing. It was like nada.
But what's interesting now, and I don't know the precise age demographic, because those seem to change all the time, but I think it might be Z. There is a resurgence of curiosity and faith within some of these younger generations who are finding maybe the consumerism that dominated, boomer and Xer culture, wanting and lacking, and they're seeking and asking questions that they feel like they haven't found.
At the, I know at the Redeemer, the Central Church in Utica, I would call it for lack of a better term, they have their big youth thing here a few months ago, and they got, you had a lot of kids come out for that, right?
Yeah, and it's what's interesting. It's Yes, big events like
Like how
that.
many kids? I mean, that would pull like hundreds and hundreds of kids.
Oh yeah, 900 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. But what's interesting too is you're not just seeing it at big events. One of the things that you're starting to see is even just kids being bold enough to say to their friends, like, hey, you know, why don't you come and check out church? And one of the cool things that we've seen this year is just earlier in the summer, there was one baptism service that we had where 5 kids from one school got baptized. I know from where my kids go to school, one young man is just, you know, serving Jesus passionately. He's brought like 15 kids to church just in the last couple of weeks from this little school district.
Explain baptism as a believer.
So for baptism, what we're talking about is this is kind of a public declaration, as we would say, to say, hey, I lived my life in a certain way. I found that wanting. I found Jesus, or Jesus found me, really, and I put my faith in him. And now my life is completely different, and I'm saying that I'm going to follow him. And so I'm going into the waters of baptism, and when I go under, it's identifying with his death. And when I come up out of the waters of baptism, I'm saying, in him, I am a brand new creation. And
So not washing away sin.
No. It's a sign. It's a symbol to help us remember what it is that God has done for us.
Wow. So let's continue to talk about Christmas. We're with Pastor Josh Lange from Redeemer Church, and we'll dig into Christmas a little bit here after the break. Is that okay with you, Josh?
Sounds good.
All right, Tom.